Anyway, we are live, yay, with Elyn Jacobs. We have been trying to get her back for a while. So this is a special treat for those of you who have never met Elyn. You are in for a treat. So tell everybody, text, tag, because as you know, our algorithms are being garbly-gooked in social media. So even though we're live, that doesn't mean that people aren't understanding that we are live. So do your part in helping the classroom grow. So share, like, follow, especially someone who has cancer or maybe wants to prevent cancer in their life. This is the place to be. So let me hit the recorder so that we can record for the podcast. And for those of you who are here today or listening on podcasts or YouTube or BitChute or wherever you're listening from, please know this is a very special time for you to start taking inventory of what you need to do to prevent cancer. And so Elyn Jacobs, cancer coach, Elyn is here to give us some tips. So fasten your seatbelt. It is time to learn and grow together and be in the moment. That's what dancing does. It puts us in the moment. No more cares. Here we go.
The Lillian McDermott Show.
We love, we fear, bridges we burn, we make mistakes, then we live and learn. When life gets tough, and it seems like your best ain't good enough. If you're in need of hope, you know where I'll be right here. Right here, and when you need a friend, you can count on me. I'll be right here, waiting for
you. This is the place you can always turn to when you need a friend. The Lillian McDermott Show. To reach out to Lillian, visit her on the web at whenyouneedafriend.com. Now let's all learn together. Here's Lillian McDermott.
Hello, my listening and viewing friends. Are so nice that we can meet each other on the air on this beautiful, best day ever. And for those of you who are tuning into the classroom for the first time, please know I've been waiting for you. This is a safe place where you can go to when you need a friend. It is my commitment to provide alternative ways to heal, and it is my mission to make awareness, responsibility, and truth a part of our everyday life. And I hope you, my listening, as well as my viewing friend, will feel empowered to embrace a new truth and live the life of your dreams. Now, as I said in my quick little intro, today is a special day. I love Elyn Jacobs. From the moment she came into the classroom, from the first time I heard about her and her story of choosing an alternative way to heal and rejecting poison in her body. She's a 2-time cancer survivor, and she has done it in a way that is healing, and she is now helping so many others heal. So I said, with all the stuff that's going on in the world with viruses and all, people have forgotten that we do need to improve our immune system and stay focused, spirit, mind, and body, so that we can continue to prevent cancer, disease from entering our body. And I'm so glad that finally we got Elyn Jacobs to come back and help us learn a little bit more about what we need to do, what she did, so we can take lots of notes and say no to anything that's harmful for our body. And since it is our sole purpose in life to give and receive love and knowledge, I am grateful that Elyn Jacobs is here to do just that. Welcome, Elyn, back to the classroom.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me. It's been a long time, but I'm excited to be here and share. And, if you have your questions, I'm happy to answer anything.
That's right.
Right. Nothing is off the table. Well, almost nothing. But we have lots of stuff to talk about today. So where would you like to start?
Well, first of all, I would like for people to know that if they have a question for Elyn, if you have cancer, or if you know someone who has cancer, or you've recovering from cancer, or whatever it is, we're going to say the word cancer because we're going to treat cancer no different than we would treat the common cold, or no different than we would treat treat, building our immune system. We are going to look at it square in the eyes and say, I'm not afraid of this. I am hopeful for the future because there's so many things we know now that people aren't telling us. So before we get started, Elyn, I would love, so if you have a question, type in a Q and then write your question down. That way we will know that you actually have a question. So before we get started, I know that it's been a while. Perhaps maybe there's a new member that's listening or watching today. And so share a little bit about your background and your journey with cancer and healing your body.
Okay, so when I was first diagnosed, it was in 2007. The doctor had recommended surgery and all that, and nothing else was actually asked me other than tamoxifen. And I fought that tooth and nail and said, it's a terrible drug. And the doctor said, yeah, it's a terrible drug. She said, but we don't have anything else to give you. I said, well, that's not really a very good reason for me to take it. And so then my internist said, well, Elyn, take the tamoxifen, you'll live longer. I said, well, no, I just won't die of cancer. I'll die of something else because you gave me a terrible drug. And so I fought that and I said, there's got to be more to this. And I was a big supplement taker, but I went to my oncologist and I said, she said, do you take supplements? And I said, well, yeah. And she said, well, can you tell me which ones? And I said, well, do you really want to know? Because there's a lot of them. She said, no, I really want to know. So I showed her this very long list and she said, you take all of these things every day? I said, yeah. And I want to know from you if I'm taking the right ones, the right brands, the right synergy, what timing of the day. And she just kind of looked at me and she said, Elyn, they don't teach us anything about this in medical school. Nothing. She said, so while I can appreciate, and I have a lot of my patients do take some of these things, but I'm not the person for the job. You need to find somebody who knows about this stuff. So that's how I found my then next oncologist, Dr. Mitch Gaynor, who sadly is no longer with us, but he really helped me navigate the supplements to use exactly the best ones and the right ones. And then I started pouring hours and hours and hours and basically my life into researching everything to the point where sometimes he would suggest something and say, oh, I'm already on that. He's like, oh, that's excellent, perfect. So he ended up being a mentor. We had a lot of conversations. And then and he basically said, something that had happened to me before I was 5 years old was the reason why I had breast cancer. Now, I know there was a lot of reasons. Yes, it ended up being something before I was 5 years old. It ended up because I had one of those ancient old behemoth monitors on the trading desk I worked on Wall Street pointed right at my left breast for years. I mean, like right next to me. And then the other one was working downtown during 9/11 and sucking in all the fumes, which one of my healers told me was definitely a major player. So it was kind of like that perfect storm. But what the oncologist said about me being, something happened to me before I was 5, I can't stress that enough because I thought if I could just forgive all of those people, anybody who had done anything to me or not done anything for me or whatever a little child expects, I thought I could just forgive my way out of it. But anyway, fast forward to 2014, when I find this little new visitor under my arm. And then I saw that same oncologist at a conference and there was this energy healer there. And I just told him about the lump. And I said, I've never really worked with a healer. I think I'm going to go do a session with him because, they have all those booths. Mm-hmm. So I did this session with this healer and he told me everything about my life and I told him nothing. So then I went to see a bunch more healers and, they all told me the same thing. So I started really working on the emotional side. I stayed with my diet and I stayed with all my supplements, changing them, rotating them, doing all kinds of things. But I definitely worked on the emotional side. So that's one thing that I can tell you that was huge. And after doing that for 9 months, not only did that one little visitor, which was removed, unfortunately, but all the other visitors that I wouldn't let them remove that we found afterwards all went away. So, my words to you are
went away. And so
yes.
Let's talk about because I know your story, but I want to make sure that if somebody's watching new, did you have a mastectomy or because you've done everything your way, you've done the research and you've done it so that you've been your best advocate and now you're advocating for other people. So tell your story about surgery.
Okay, so in 2007, I was a Wall Street trader. I was not a cancer coach. My mother was dying of breast cancer. I had a 3 and a 4-year-old. So I was very motivated to stay on this earth. And so not knowing a whole lot else, the first doctor told me he would do liver mastectomy, but it really sounded very scary to me. And I thought, oh gosh, no, I'm not going to do this. This is not something. But then the next doctor I went to was amazing. And he explained it in a much different way. And I said, okay, I'll do that. If it's really going to save my life, I'll do that. And again, I didn't know a lot then. And I thought this was going to save my life. And they assured me that after that, I would have absolutely no chance of recurrence because it was such early stage and I was such a healthy person that doing the surgery was going to be great. So that's also not true, but I didn't know that then. Mm-hmm. So I had done the mastectomy. And what we now know about these things is not only does the surgery help the cancer cells escape to the rest of the body, sometimes even 5 to 7 years before you have the surgery, they've already escaped. So checking that infamous sentinel node is a waste of time. Removing your nodes is a waste of time. Even removing your breast is a waste of time. But in some cases, it does take down the tumor load so that your body can really build itself back up and take. So it's not like there's never a reason to have surgery. It can help many people, and it also gives you peace of mind. Mm-hmm. Some people absolutely positively do not want to know that there is something growing there. So it's a unique situation and everybody has that choice. They don't tell you that, but you have that choice. Mm-hmm. But as far as drug therapies, when I was then stage 3, when they found all the visitors, as I like to call them because they're departed, they said, well, my oncologist had said, well, you're stage 3, I'm going to have to recommend, they're going to recommend radiation. Are you going to do it? And I said, no. And then he said, well, I'm going to have to recommend chemotherapy because that's the standard of care. And I said, well, and I know if I do that, I will have a terrible quality of life for the next 7 to 10 years and I'll be dead anyway. And he said, well, that's true. But what else are you going to do? And I said, oh, I have a plan. I'm all set. I have a plan. So he said, well, tell me your plan. So I told him everything I was going to do. And he said, I like it. How can I help? Well, brilliant man. So anyway, that's when I embarked and I started doing all that psychotherapy and energy healers and EFT tapping and emotion code and all of those things for the 9 months, in addition to high dose vitamin C intravenous. And then after 9 months, I had to switch to liposomal C because I was out at my country home and nobody out there would give you 50 grams of IVC, period. No matter how hard I tried, it didn't work out. So I switched over to the liposomal and it worked fine. And then, from October exactly to date, from October to October, when I went for my follow-up sonogram, and that's when the radiologist said to me, so where'd they go? Like, I can't find anything here. And yeah.
Isn't it amazing? Now you talk about the emotion code. I have to tell you, I know I've not said this to you, but on November 6th, the classroom is hosting an emotion code, the emotion code with Dr. Bradley Nelson. He's coming to Florida. Wow. Yeah, he's coming to Florida. And we are partnering up with Dr. Nelson, and he's doing an emotion code. And then after the session or the workshop, we're going to have a meet and greet with Dr. Nelson. It's going to be intimate. We're going to keep it down to like 40 people, no more than, I think we can handle more, but I want to make it so that it's intimate for the people who choose to do the VIP pass. But November 6th in Cocoa Beach, Florida, so it's really close to where I live. And so I'm really excited. So you know what it's like to deal with these emotions. And one of the things, I just finished doing a workshop, the I Am the Solution workshop this weekend. And people know, I want to fix my body. I want to fix my body. But what people don't know, and I've had teacher after teacher in the classroom, especially Dr. Lee Cowden, who's one of my mentors, he said, your body will be very, very expensive to heal if you don't do your mind and spirit. It'll be very expensive. But if you start with the emotion, the mind, the spirit, your body will heal very cheaply. And that's what people don't understand. They don't understand that we have these centers, chakras, whatever healing centers, whatever we want to call them, and whatever past traumas, even the traumas, which I've learned from Dr. Bradley Nelson, the traumas that are handed from our past generations. And that's something we don't even talk about. Did you learn about that within your body too?
Right, because you don't just inherit your Aunt Sue's blue eyes or your mother's brown hair. You inherit all of her traumas. So if your great grandmother went through the Holocaust and or they suffered through the Depression and they were starving and they were physically abused as a child or abandoned or any number of things, you inherit all of those traumas. So year after year, everybody is inheriting more and more things. And at some point, the bodies can't handle it all. And we're not releasing it all. We didn't know that we needed to, first of all. And doctors don't talk about that, right? And they don't talk about other things too, like viruses that create cancers, because they can't cure the virus. So they don't even talk about that. But with emotions, that's something that really goes over their head. They really have, and I'm not blaming doctors. It's just, that's not something they teach them in medical school.
Yeah.
So it's really important.
Yeah. And that once we know it, that we seek someone like you, someone like what we talk about in the show, in the classroom. And those are things that we get to inherit and take on for ourselves. So for you, was that really difficult when you're here, you're doing everything you can do to eat well and have the right supplements and exercise and sleep and all these things. But what was holding you back possibly from having the total healing that you've received was the emotional, the spirit mind connection.
I absolutely believe that was it. I mean, obviously I needed to do some things to help these, to target cancer cells and all those other things. So it wasn't like I gave up on any of that, but the puzzle piece that I had missed was that emotional healing. And as soon as I did all those therapies, it was dramatic. I also felt lighter, happier. You don't, because when someone abuses you as a child, in your mind, sometimes maybe other people wouldn't have said you were abused, but if you were left at Brownies in the pitch black for 5 hours and you're sitting there on this stoop in the dark, wondering if anybody loved you and if anybody actually going to pick you up because, it's miles to your house and you have no idea how to get home, that sits in your head forever. If you get lost in a department store and you follow the wrong lady in a red coat, it's traumatizing. And if that person who finds you starts yelling at you for getting lost, or whatever, it can be physical abuse, whatever it is, that sticks in your little head and you need to unstick it. And that's what's so neat about the emotion code, is because you don't have to do a whole lot of work. She just says, well, do we need to know more? Let's cut that cord. Let's just get rid of that right now. Move on.
Well, everybody's going to learn how to do that at the emotion code workshop for themselves. And it's a powerful tool. It's one of the tools. What are some of the other tools that you used, Elyn, spirit mind connection, that you can share and give tips for people?
So I did do the EFT tapping. It didn't work great for me. So that was not a good one. The energy healers were definitely very good, as was psychotherapy. I had never done therapy in my life. I did not enjoy this at all. But some of the things that the guy did with me, and this is Dr. Peter Resnick, were amazing. I mean, I sometimes had trouble following him. He'd say, well, you're going down a valley and you're walking down this green valley and you walk up the other side. He says, what color are your clothes? So color my clothes. I was trying to figure out how I'm walking down this, so a lot of that was lost on me, but there were some amazing things that he did, like this rain washing thing that just washes all the cancer cells out of your body. And, with this whole idea of this rainbow at the end, or just so many of these things. And even he has a system where when you have a dream, if you say a certain number, that really can predict whether you're going to survive or not. He won't tell you anything, because otherwise you will come up with those numbers in your head. But he'll ask you about your dream. Were there, what numbers were in your dream? Did you go to 38, whatever? Did you, and you'll say, well, I had this weird dream. Something was 77 cents. Everything I put was 77. And he would tell you what those numbers meant.
Wow.
I wish I had all that information still, but I don't. But afterwards, he said it wouldn't work for you once he tells you, because you will kind of come up with those numbers intentionally, either for better or for worse. And it's not true. But he had a lot of really interesting things that he did with me. And then, of course, working with the healers, they were able to do both physical and emotional healing on me. And I can't stress enough, in my Wall Street days, when someone told me, working with a healer, they can basically diagnose you over the phone and fix you. And I was like, so you're trying to explain to me that somebody in Boston over the phone can tell me that I've got a kidney problem and the kidney problem goes away. And she says, yeah. I'm like, okay, sure. But then, when I had a number of problems throughout my life since then, when I would call this healer or one of the others, and she would do her swish, 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 and it would all go away. And I would go to the doctor after that, and they'd say, "Yep, you're fine now. Whoever this woman is, she's remarkable." So, if you are open to it, the healers can be amazing. In fact, to the point that when my kids, who are now teenagers, one's in college, when something would happen, like my son had 105 fever, whatever he was, 11 years old or something like that. And he wakes me up in the middle of the night. He says, "I took my temperature to 105. I'm like, "That's pretty high." Okay. We call her up, get her on the phone. She says, "Hold on, just everybody calm down." Brings it down to 101 and everybody goes back to sleep and we're all good. Good to go.
Amazing. How does that happen? Do you have like,
Moves your
Dr.
energy
Jennifer,
around.
do you have like is it Zyto? Is it, Eva?
We're all made of energy.
Okay.
So all she has to do is direct the energy to resolve the problem. She just redirects your energy.
And the fever would go away.
You don't want it to go away because the fever is healing.
Yes.
But you brought it down to a very manageable 101.
Yes.
And so we could all go to sleep. If 105, you're ready to go to the emergency room because you're afraid of what happens if it goes to 108, right? So she helped me.
That is something that people don't know. People think that if they have a fever, they need to take Tylenol or something to lower their fever. Can you explain how important it is for the body to be able to heat up and kill that virus?
It's true. I mean, why do you think people do hypothermia? They raise the body temperature and it kills all kinds of things. So the fever is there for a reason. It's not the bad guy. It's the good guy. Again, when it gets super, super high, there can be complications. So you start getting 106 fever, I suggest you call a healer, or you do something, take curcumin, which is an excellent way to reduce fever, get rid of pain, works as well or better in some studies than things like ibuprofen. So
do you take it in a tablet form? Because I know that you have lots of supplements. You talk about supplements on your website too, but do you take it in tablet form or just do you take a tablespoon, teaspoon? How do you take it?
The problem with it, it's curcumin, turmeric, it needs fat. In India, when they're cooking Indian food, they cook it with a fat and black pepper. So you need a fat-based formula if it's a capsule, something like a BCM 95 formula or a Mariva. If you're going to take curcumin as a powder, as a turmeric, obviously it's going to have to be with a fat, some kind of food. But these fat-based formulas are very easy to take. You can take them. You don't have to be eating something to do it. And like I said, they are fat-based, so they will absorb very, very well in your body. So you take, a couple of pills every couple of hours, and your fever will come down if you need it to be, or your pain will, should be relieved, depending on the pain, obviously.
Yes.
But,
and do you look for a particular energy healer? Because there's a lot of people out there that say they are and may not be. So how do you know? What are some tips to find the right energy healer for you?
So there's different kinds of energy healers. One guy that I work with in Colombia, he has this machine that basically tells you what's wrong with you, and he can make recommendations, and he can actually fix you. He used to use his system to tell you what to go buy. Like I had trouble with my hands, I had to go on Amazon for $2.15. I had to buy this rather awful tasting tea, but it took it away. It solved the problem. I said, fine. Just like
Amazing.
the emotion code will do that too, tell you exactly what you need. And I can tell you another story later about that if we have time. But so to look at a healer, you have to feel comfortable. First of all, you have to believe that you're made of energy, which you are, but you have to believe that you can heal yourself. You have to believe that this person can help you heal yourself. I mean, she taught me how to do it myself, but I was terrible at it. So I just would call her instead. However, so you really have to feel comfortable. If you have a first experience and all of your friends say this healer is great, and you talk to the person and you're like, I don't think so. Move on. It's not that the healer is a bad healer. Word of mouth is the best way to do it, but still, I can tell you up and down that some healers done amazing things for me, and you could work with that healer and just not resonate. Did you like every man or every woman you ever dated? No, right? Every boss, some person says it's a perfect boss, and you say the guy's a jerk. She's a jerk, right? So you have to feel like very, very comfortable that you really like this person. And you feel confident in that person. And I think that's the best advice that I can tell you, because it doesn't matter if I like the healer. It doesn't matter if the person did miracles for me. It matters that you like the person. But word of mouth is really, honestly, in my opinion, the best way and because there are tons of healers, and a lot of people, after I did a bunch of shows, when I had my radio show on healers, I got emails and phone calls from healers all over the place. Oh, can I help you? Can I help you? And most of them were great. And, but there was one who said, well, I'll give you this free session. And there was nothing, absolutely nothing. And she couldn't really do anything. And so I was like, okay, well, I don't think I'm going to put you on my page. I can't recommend you. And now I stopped kind of recommending, because people do come back to me and say, well, I did 5 sessions with her, and the 4 were great, but the 5th was terrible. So I want my money back. I said, well, she doesn't work for me. And if you like the first 4 sessions, but like, what do you want from me?
And that's probably why they have cancer.
Right.
It's because they're not able to, compartmentalize and go to the right source. Sometimes we feel victimized, and victimization can trigger that certain response in our body that, first of all, it releases endorphins as well. It could be, it has some benefits to be a victim. But the price could be that, you get really, really sick eventually.
Or that 5th one, you just were so, you just were not going to believe that person could do anything for you. So you're blocking them.
Yeah.
And then you're blaming it on the healer. Or sometimes you have the best expectations, but they're really not miracle workers. They're working with you to heal your body. But there's some things, like if you chop off your arm and you say to the person, can you put my arm back on? You probably really do need a doctor to put that arm back on. But they can heal all that tissue, that scar tissue. They can do all of that kind of stuff for you.
Yeah.
But there's certain things that they can't do. And again, if for whatever reason you don't believe they can handle that sort of situation, or they say something that annoys you, maybe they say something very frank to you that you didn't want to hear, and you tune them out. Like they say, well, the best thing you could do would be to divorce your husband. Oh, well, I'm not going to do, so you might shut them out after that.
Yeah. I get it. When you say belief is very important, because when you think about, when Jesus breathed into the nostrils of his disciples, he said, you will do this and more. And what's the this and what's the more? People have very incredible energy healers. They have incredible gifts. I know some people have a problem with that, but I think God has given so many people gifts, and we still, in the name of God, say, no, it's not. I think that you can just, if you're open to it, this is for you. If you're not open to it, then don't even do it, because that belief it allows that to occur in your body. So here you are going to these energy healers, something that you would have never done. What was your mindset when you tried it the first time? I mean, so that people, that maybe people can relate that this is not something for them, or what was the mindset that caused you to say, you know what, I would like to try this?
I think because he told me things, like I said earlier, that he had no business knowing, and then he said to me, the reason that you're sick, he said, because that you have cancer. Like, this is before I was diagnosed.
Wow.
He said, it's because your job. He said, whatever your job is, you're taking in all this negative energy from your clients, and you're not getting any positive energy. And he didn't know what I did. So obviously, as a cancer coach, I'm talking to all people who are diagnosed, and some of them with late stages. So yes, they're throwing a lot of negative energy, and I'm an empath. That means I take it all in, and I don't know how to shield. I didn't know how to shield myself. So I was taking in all their negative energy and trying to, when I was a kid, I was Julie the cruise director. If you ever saw The Love Boat, I'm probably dating myself. Wow. Yes. I always tried to keep peace, because then nobody would get hurt in my family if we kept peace. Right. To like everybody happy. That was like the best thing to do. But that meant that I was always trying to be the peacekeeper, and nobody was taking care of me because I was so busy taking care of everybody else, cooking all the meals and doing all right. So I'm doing all these things. So when he started telling me things, I was like, that's pretty interesting. I said, I think I'll do another session. So I paid for, an outside sub. And I said, there's a couple others on this list. And they, like I said, they all told me the same thing. And, you know, I did draw the line, one of the healers, where I ended up firing him because he told me that the only way I was going to heal was if I got rid of my bed and my mattress and slept on the hard floor for the rest of my life. He said it worked for my wife. She was stage 4. And I'm like, no, I'm 106 pounds. I think sleeping on the floor, a hard floor, is really not going to work well for me. And then, well, then I can't help you.
Wow. Wow.
I'm out of here.
Yeah.
I'm out of here. I'm not sleeping on the hard floor.
Yeah.
So you have to, you know, like I said, you have to know the healer that you're happy with. And, you know, some of my healers, I know they'll tell me something and I'll say, I don't really think that's the answer, but I'll you know, I'll try to believe. And then it doesn't really work, or I'll say, I believe in your answer. I believe that you just took care of the problem, but then the problem doesn't go away. And you say, okay, so they can't do everything. I'm that kind of person that I can just move on, and I will call him the next day with some other problem and be perfectly comfortable knowing that he could probably fix me. So, and I've had the success, like so many successes where healers have done amazing things to me that I'm very open and I'm not judgmental. So if one doesn't work out too well, I'm fine with the second chance.
Yeah. You know, and, you know, you said, I heard you say the healer fixed me, but really they're a vessel by which you choose healing, right? So you really do this yourself, and we have that power within us. Again, you know, Jesus breathed into the disciples' nostrils and said, you will do this and more. What's the this and what's the more? We have been so squashed down into believing that we cannot heal, that we can't do anything for ourselves. And so, you know, our limitations, our limiting beliefs are not only get us sick, but keep us sick. So that's one of the reasons that I love doing the workshop. It's to let people see what their limitations are and have them choose to rewrite the program. It is so important. So that, you know, I heard that, but these people are vessels by which they promote, you can promote your own healing. And so I'm just excited that we're talking about this. I've never talked to anybody that has gone through what you've gone through and have been able to say, yeah, I went to energy healers and it still works for me. It works for my children, and it's something that I choose for myself. So let's go to that next place, because so that's part of the emotion part of it. The mindset, you wanted to heal naturally. You did not want the poisons in your body. And as a matter of fact, we changed the word on the description, which is, you know, you didn't want to choose which alternative ways, you know, the traditional medicine, because it was poison. You saw it with your mom. Your mom was a teacher for you of what not to do, right? And you saw the poison that you rejected that, but you embraced natural health. How did that go about? Because you have a very logical background, even though you're an empath.
Right. Exactly. But I saw that was not working. And I also knew when my mother was going through it, I fought it then. But my sisters were all very conventional. They were absolutely certain that this chemo was the best thing for her, the radiation and all the stuff. And I kept saying, you know, it doesn't make any sense to me, guys. You know, but there was no way I could fight that battle. Looking back, my father said, had I only listened, had we only known, I would have talked her out of it. But so I did have that kind of experience, you know, but my research is really what took me down that rabbit hole of saying, you know, there's got to be a better way. And even, like I said, I had the support of my oncologist, which was really big, even way back. And that's very rare. And he actually also supported me through using the healers, as did my surgeons. When I told them things that the surgeons, and they said, well, what's her name? You know, they were all, so I had plenty of support from everybody.
Good.
It was very unique. But it was really through my research saying, you know, when something doesn't add up, you know, if it looks like a duck and acts like a duck, it's probably a duck. But that also works in the opposite direction. It was never proven that chemo was successful. It was a great idea in 1961 to end cancer. It was actually never scientifically proven to work. In 2012, a major cancer center in the city, it's on my blog, came out and said, we now know that all the chemo that we ever gave our patients didn't work and probably killed a lot of them. But we need your money. They were trying to, it was a fundraising conference. And they said, we need your money so we get new drugs that actually do work for our patients. Now you've got 500 people in the room that probably did chemo and they're probably dying. And they're listening to these people stand up there in front of this group saying, we meant well. But you know what? They're still doing it. They are still doing the chemo. They have since 2012 when they admitted this. I still have that invite right here in front of my face on my wall where I was invited to hear this. And what I'm saying to myself is they know it doesn't work. Now there is a place for even for chemo. If you have an obstruction that is so big and you cannot go to the bathroom or you cannot breathe, there is a case that and you don't have the time to use natural means to shrink that tumor. There is sometimes a case that you might do that. And even that oncologist, there was a time with someone who was stage 4 pancreatic cancer and 18 people told her she was going to die, nothing they could do for her, no chemo, nothing. And he said, there's no time stamp on your foot. He said, I don't know when I'm going to die, so I don't know when you're going to die, but I'm going to do everything I can to make you well. She was stage 4 pancreatic cancer. She is perfectly healthy. Wow. And that was a very long time ago. But he did have to give her 1 round of chemo because he was working with her for 6 months. Things got out of hand. The cancer started to really, really get aggressive. And he said, I promise you just one round. That's it. And they did the 1 round. First, she said, you're selling me up the river. You're trying to kill me. But then they worked it out and she did it. And she is very much here to tell the tale now. I actually met up with her at a conference.
How long ago did she? And I think you told me about her a long time. I'd love to have her in the classroom.
It was, at least 2010. She was perfectly fine then. And I think it was 15 or so years prior to that.
Wow. Wow.
But there are many. There's also this wonderful story about Debbie Ogg, who was a real person. And there was a movie made about her called A Leap of Faith. And she was diagnosed when she was just married and pregnant, and she lost the baby, and they found the tumor, and they said, you're going to die. There's no chemo, no radiation, nothing we can do for you. And so long story short, she starts doing all kinds of lifestyle changes. Her best friend dies, leaving her, visiting her. And she basically said, well, I thought I was the one. Why did she die? And then she started working with traditional Chinese medicine. She started working with Dr. Bernie Siegel, well known, look him up. And he basically hypnotized her and found out that when she was a little girl, her mother died. She was underneath the deathbed and she was basically dragged out. No one said why her mother abandoned her. Father remarries. Debbie's left out on her own. Once she reversed all of that, worked it out with Dr. Siegel, she went back to that oncologist and he said, what are you doing here? And she said, you told me I'd be dead. He said, your tumor's still there. She says, but you told me I'd be dead. So anyway, then the tumor after that went completely away. That was in the early 80s.
Wow.
He was still alive when I heard that story and saw the movie in 2012 or 10. I forget now. But she was still very much alive.
Wow. That's awesome.
Over 30 years with terminal.
I would say that's a great tip that I'm hearing you say is pick your team, pick it right. Pick a team that believes that they can help you and not one that's going to try. Right?
You have to believe in them and they have to listen to you. If they don't want to listen to you and your fears and your concerns, and they just want to be in the driver's seat and say, look, lady, this is what you're going to do. Or look, sir, this is what you're going to do. How dare you challenge me? Then it's time to let your feet do the walking and escape as quickly as you can and find, that may be hard in some areas. A lot of areas there aren't a lot of choices for doctors, or you have to stay in network. So I understand that's going to be hard, but you still can stand up for yourself and say, look, doctor, I know that it is your job to tell me what you think is best for me. But my job is to decide if what you're saying is actually what I feel that is right for me. Yeah. Because if I don't feel it's right for me, it's probably not going to work. I mean, that's true of people who do chemo and say, I flew through it. I did fine. I'm perfectly alive, because they believed in it. If you believe in a treatment, no matter which side of the fence you're on, or if you're an integrative and doing both sides, if you believe it can work for you, that is such a big deal in the scheme of things. And I believed that I could heal myself with a little help of my friends. you need a little help sometimes. Right? So I believed. And so no matter what you're doing, that's the most important thing I can say is you need to feel that you could do it, that resonates with you.
Well, that's why you're such a wonderful advocate. You're such a wonderful advocate, and no matter what's going on in your life, if you're dealing with something like a diagnosis of cancer, everybody is going to tell you what they think about it. But to have an expert like Elyn calm you down, I know that Elyn has calmed me down a couple times. I've called her up and said, hey, this is happening right now. And she's calmed me down to the point where it's doable. I can do this. This is doable. And once you get to that place, that's the place where healing truly begins. And you become curious about why this happened and curious in how you can fix it, because that's how wonderfully made your body is. And so I want to take a little moment here, because I want to encourage all of you to go to whenyouneedafriend.com. This is where we have these conversations of taking ownership and responsibility and believing that you can do what you can do, and God with you, all the two of you together can do all things. And that is just an amazing combination that you can have. So I want to encourage you to go to whenyouneedafriend.com. Please subscribe. That way you'll know who's going to be in the classroom and all their contact information. Like if you are a subscriber, you have all of Elyn's contact information right now. And then you can like and follow me on social media, and especially BitChute and Odyssey. We're trying to grow that because they don't censor us there. But when it comes to whenyouneedafriend.com, when you subscribe, you get a weekly newsletter of who's going to be on. And I believe that you get the daily podcast come right to your email and for you, and you get the 90-day challenge to self-love, which is a huge tip. If you don't love yourself and you don't have a why, then there's nothing anyone can do or say to you, because you've already decided that you're done. And so this is very important that you have like-minded people. And we talked about healing and emotional healing, and we are electronic beings. We send out frequencies and energy. And so you want someone that is like-minded that will help you work with that. And one of my sponsors is Dr. Jennifer Gramuth, who I absolutely love. And we just had a conversation about Evox and Zyto, which is a little cradle that captures your emotions electronically so that the doctor can help you deal with whatever's going on. So you could check out all these conversations, check out Dr. Jennifer Gramuth as well. All my information's on the sponsors page. So if you open my sponsors page, you can get her information. And you can also click on my affiliates pages, because it's interesting that people don't realize that many things that they put in their body can cause cancer. So there's lots of different items, lots of different things that you can purchase for yourself on my Shop Now bag, from makeup all the way to care, whatever it is that like working out bands that will make your workout even stronger and better. So go check out my affiliate page and support them the way that they're supporting the classroom. Also, you can become an enrolled student in the classroom, whether it's $1, donate to the classroom, because it's become more and more expensive to do the classes that we're doing. And so whether it's $1 or $1,000 a month, whatever you can contribute to donate to the classroom to help us grow, whether it's your time, your talent, or your treasure, is greatly appreciated. Today, Elyn Jacobs is taking time out of her busy schedule. And when I say busy, we've been trying to get back together for over a year. So it's exciting that Elyn is here today. You can find her at elynjacob.com. You can find her on Facebook. She also has a private page, and it's called Cancer Coach Elyn. And Elyn is spelled ELYN. And you can learn her more and more and more of what her philosophy is. You really do want someone who is like-minded. If you want to live, find someone that knows how to live as well. And so, Elyn, I want to thank you for coming on today in the classroom, because, it's very rare that you find someone who deals with cancer, or anyone who deals with the body, the spirit, the mind, that's talking about, how important the spirit-mind connection is. And, it's easy to talk about the body, but until you get that component down and fixed and healed, the body is very, very hard to heal. But once you get it done and fixed and all that, the body will heal naturally. Like you said, those visitors just went away. They were unwanted guests and they were gone. So let's talk a little bit about the body and the things that you have done for your body other than exercise and good nutrition, which is important. When it comes to exercise and good nutrition, what are your tips there?
So one of the tips for exercise is more is not better. So you want to exercise moderately. Rebounding is phenomenal. Gets all the lymph in your body moving, gets all those toxins so they're not, hanging out in all the various places of your body that they don't belong to do. So, get it moving. Do whether you're doing, tapping for lymphatic or jumping on a rebounder, whatever you do, rebound, jump, jog, walk fast, whatever you like to do, but no weekend warriors. You don't just sit on your duff the whole week and then go out and do, 26 miles on the weekend. People get very sick after marathons because, viruses have an easy way to take hold. The immune system is squashed.
Yeah.
So, moderate exercise, 3 to 5 hours, 10 hours a week, so whatever you can do, but it shouldn't be, to the point of complete exhaustion where you're just wiped out from that. So exercise is important. Supplements are so important. First of all, there's supplements that you need for life. In other words, we're not getting enough nutrients in our food these days, even if you have a perfect diet, which there's no perfect diet, by the way. No perfect diet for one person, period. As long as you understand that, then you realize that our soil is depleted, so we need vitamins A and B and C and D and things that we're not going to get out of our diet enough. Selenium and magnesium and zinc, essentials. Okay, so those are the essentials, lots of them that you take every day. And then I always tell people there are things that go through your body that initiate apoptosis, which is cancer cell death. So you have targeted supplements that you take that go, I call them cancer munchers. They go through your body and say, oh, that guy, let's get rid of that cell. We don't need that one. This one's no good. Get rid of that one. And then we have things that reduce inflammation. Inflammation is one of the precursors to cancer. So we take things that reduce inflammation. Then we take things that are cancer growth inhibitors, which are somewhat similar, and many of them overlap with things that initiate apoptosis, but they also, cut off the blood supply and really discourage cancer from trying to tip with its little fingers and go elsewhere. Because, nobody ever dies of a breast tumor or any little tumor. When you die of cancer, when it travels and it goes and it takes over your liver, your lungs, your brain, called Mets, right? So, but nobody has ever died of a breast tumor. So everyone's so focused on radiating the breasts and cutting off the breast, but it's those Mets, it's those little cancer stem cells, the ones that we're really trying to target. Those stem cells are the ones that we're looking for. So we use supplements to go after those. And then we use the mind body, obviously, and as if we don't get to the reason why the cancer came, we can throw all this stuff at it and we can remove all kinds of body parts, do all kinds of things, but we're not going to really get very far. And, that's why you see stage 1s do chemo, radiation, all this stuff. And then the next thing you know, they're stage 4 and they pass. So we really have to get to the reason. And a lot of that too is viruses. And I'm not talking about COVID. I'm talking about, well, it could be anything, but Epstein-Barr, CMV, HPV, any kind of virus, H. pylori, all these things, they are very, very much playing a role. And doctors don't address that. Why? Because if your doctor sat you down and said, oh, you tested positive for Epstein-Barr, and Epstein-Barr changes healthy cells into cancer cells and it changes them into autoimmune cells. So, but there's nothing we can do for you. So, have a nice day. So they don't even mention it to you that you have really active Epstein-Barr. And Epstein-Barr comes, you find that when you have chicken pox or cold sores or, other, like suddenly you have, like, you think you have the flu, but it's actually an Epstein-Barr, coming out of dormancy. And it does that when you're under emotional or physical stress. So you might think you just have the flu. You might think you just have a bad cold, but it could be that you got fired or you lost your best friend or something happened. You were under stress. The virus comes out of dormancy, does a sturdy deed. And 5 years later, you have a recurrence. So, or an initial cancer. So we really have to pay attention to viruses. And right now, more than ever, eating foods that in general dampen down viral load is a great idea. Supplements that target viruses typically also target cancer cells. So you're probably not adding a whole lot more, but you're staying on a nice regimen. We get so many things that we can do, but moving your body, sleeping well, work on that. If you're not, there's lots of great stuff you can do to sleep well. If your hormones are messed up, you don't necessarily need an aromatase inhibitor, because most of us, I'm 60, depending on your age, we don't have a whole lot of estrogen to donate to this aromatase inhibitor. We need to keep our estrogen, but work on this balance thing and make sure we're detoxifying our estrogen. So there's so many things involved. The doctor just says, well, you're estrogen positive, you get an aromatase inhibitor, you get tamoxifen, and off you go with your script, and then you suffer terrible consequences. Instead, I say, let's address the problem the way it should be addressed, because if you reduce all your estrogen, the next thing you know, you have eye damage, you have heart damage, lung damage, and a whole lot of other things that don't go quite right in your body. And just because you have cancer at 60 or 40 doesn't mean you don't want to live till you're 90. So yeah, you might do something for the cancer, but what good is it if your heart fails, right? What good is it if your lungs fail? So you really want to take care of the whole body. And unfortunately, oncologists have their own thing, and they are mandated by, the American Medical Association to tell you to do the standard of care. And once you understand that, you can get along with them better. And that's when it comes into saying, I understand that you have to recommend that, but it's not, I don't feel that it's for me. And you may feel it is for you, but if you don't, then that's where you say, I have to work on something else. Will you help me?
Mm-hmm.
Get on their team. Let them be part of your team. And if they don't, just use them for your lab work. Use them for whatever you need. But then you have a few other team members over here that you use, and you do your research and you do your homework and you take care of this part, because this part's connected to everything else in your body. Head bone's connected to the neck bone, and the neck bone's eventually to the toe bone, as you learned when you were a kid. So really taking care of the whole body, the mind, giving your body the nutritional support it needs. Eat good food. Again, no perfect diet. Some people like keto. Not everyone is good, not good for everybody. Some are vegan, not good for everybody. If you name one diet, I can tell you why it is good or not bad for you. And if you name one food, I can tell you why it's good or bad for you. No matter what you say, there's something wrong with everything. So once you get that straight, you do the diet that works for you, and you worry about your thyroid. You have that checked. Make sure that your thyroid numbers are good. A lot of doctors don't check your cancer markers or your thyroid numbers, because if your thyroid's messed up, we got a systems problem here. We can fix it. There's lots of things you can do to fix it if you know you need to fix it. But if you don't know you need to fix it, then little loopholes there. So anyway, there's so much you can do, but the most important thing is to be you and to do what feels right for you.
Yes. Yeah. The hardest thing to be is what everybody else wants you to be. As long as you can be who you are, that is the easy part. Now, I have a question about that. And by the way, for those of you who want to learn about the supplements that Elyn recommends, if you go to elynjacobs.com, there's a section on supplements and why, right? Can you share a little bit about that?
Yeah. So the supplement page is created basically because people would always say to me, what brand or what does this do for me? And they would forget after we would chat, or they would read something. So the supplement page tells you why a particular item is good for you. Like vitamin D. Why am I taking vitamin D? Well, if you're taking D, you also need to take K2, but nobody knows that. So on that supplement page is all the reasons why you take a supplement. What is it going to do for me? And what are maybe some of the suggested brands? Because brands are important. It could be in some of them are junk. They're a third of the price, a fraction of the, but sometimes you get what you pay for. Sometimes you pay too much for something you don't need to pay too much for. So there are some brand supplements, but mostly what I want you to look at is why you would take a certain thing, what it does for you. And if you go to like the estrogen section, well, what can I do instead of an aromatase inhibitor? Well, there's a bunch of things that you can do under that section. What about detoxification? Extremely important. Well, what can I do? Go to the detox section. And then I have this other section that's called amazing supplements. And it'll tell you, why should I take black seed? I think everyone should take black seed. I really do. So, but why? It's all right there. And sometimes I put links to articles, but half the time the links break. So I stopped doing that because it's too much. It's just too much work.
Yeah. Yeah.
you'll learn about what why you need certain things. So it's a great resource page.
Well, I have, from everything that you said, I've got some follow-up questions for those of you who are watching now. If you have any questions for Elyn, and maybe it's a private question and you don't want to write it so that anybody can read it, you can text me at 407-373-5959, and then we'll read it in the Teacher's Pet Corner. Also, type in a Q, write your question down. If you feel it, we'll address these questions right after. I didn't even ask you if you have if you have like 15 minutes afterwards that you can answer some questions if we have some questions. But today, I want to encourage you to start. People say, well, we got to die from something. Everybody's going to die from something. Well, the question is, how do you want to live? How do you want to live till you take that last breath? It's so important. We've got a second chance right now to change our life around. And I'm so grateful that Elyn, whether it's cancer or some virus or whatever, having the body in optimal health is the way to do it. And I thank you, Elyn, that you help people. You're their cheerleader to help them achieve that optimal health. So thank you so much for what you do. So don't go away, because we're going to continue our conversation for the Teacher's Pet Corner. And please remember, I'll be right here with you, waiting for you. This is Lillian McDermott and Elyn Jacobs, wishing you love, peace, joy, and unexpected abundance. Make it the best day ever. Good job. Good job.
The opinions and advice expressed on the Lillian McDermott radio show are intended for the individual callers and guests on the program and are presented to our wider audience solely for general educational purposes. Please act responsibly and consult personally with your own medical, psychological, or nutritional expert before taking any steps to improve your life.
Every time, like during the weekend, everybody would have to mute themselves and unmute. And every time they start talking, I'd say, okay, unmute yourself. And so after a while, I say, okay, you owe me $1 every time you don't unmute yourself. Well, when we would go to our little breakout rooms, we'd go to little breakout rooms. When we go in, I would have my mic muted. And one time I didn't unmute myself, and I was like, okay, you owe us $1. Doesn't work that way. Okay. So I was curious about Florida, Brevard County. Yes. I mentioned that we are doing the November 6th with Bradley Nelson. If you go now to whenyouneedafriend.com, November, you go to whenyouneedafriend.com. So the homepage, there'll be a pop-up, and then click on the pop-up. It's been a long time. This will be Dr. Bradley Nelson's first workshop since this whole pandemic. So he is coming out in Cocoa Beach, Florida. I'm so excited, November 6th. So there's a pop-up, so you can just click on it. You'll see his picture, click on it, register. We're either going to make this a very intimate gathering. Well, the VIP is for the intimate gathering. That's exciting, because after we're done with the workshop, we're going to have a meet and greet and food and take pictures and have fun, and hopefully he'll teach us a little bit more about, if you have some private questions at that time. But that's going to be limited. We can have as many as 400 people in the workshop, so it's a big venue. But we're excited that he doesn't care. He's going to come down, and we're hoping that we'll have a great turnout, because he has done such great work. Doesn't he, Elyn? Doesn't he do a great job?
Tremendous.
Yes.
I can't say enough about the emotion code. I have used that not just for myself, like I said, for my kids. My son had this horrible staph infection he got from a kid that went to a surf camp, and he infected the whole neighborhood because they were hanging out together. And I went to 2 pediatricians. No matter what they did, they couldn't get rid of it. And I called her up and said, Holly, you've got to do something. I need to know what I can do for this kid. And she said, hold on. She does her thing. And she said, okay, I want you to call this guy. I don't know where he was, Timbuktu someplace. And she said, I want you to buy this stuff and give him 5 doses. He'll be perfectly fine. Okay. She says, that's what his body wants. I get the stuff. It stinks like chlorine. I said, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I can do this. So I said, no, I really trust her. I gave her 1 dose. The staph infection went away and never came back again. This is after 5 repeat reinfections, and nobody could do anything for him. Bang, zoom. So like I said, our healers have been our ER and our pediatricians, they've been everything to my family.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so, yeah, you're all going to love that. That is the most, I'm
Elyn,
so
plan
excited.
a trip to Florida. Plan a trip to Florida. It's
I
November
don't-
6th.
Yeah, I will be pretty busy with my one college visit and the other one going off. So, but otherwise I would
know.
be there in a heartbeat because
Yeah.
I'm such a believer in the emotion code.
It is. I'm excited. We did some videos yesterday, and we're going to put them up on the website too, the landing page for the emotion code, and just one-on-one with him. I've never met him, but I feel like he's been a part of my life, like my entire life. He's just such a warm, and I'm looking forward to people having that intimate gathering with him for the VIP people that decide they want to do that. And so right away, go, because the VIP section, the VIP is going to be very limited to 40 people. And so, so people that want that includes the ticket, the admission as well. So for people that want to do that, that's please, November 6th is right around the corner. And if you're in Florida, tell everybody. You can just drive for the day. Cocoa Beach, Florida is beautiful. Okay, so I've got a question for someone that has prostate cancer. And what are some tips for, is the prostate, is the treatment for the prostate the same as the breast, the same as all the others? And what are the success rates for you with prostate cancer?
Right. There's so many wonderful supplements that target prostate cells. So there are so many things that you can do. Lily, I think I have sent you my handout on prostate. If I have not, I'm happy to, but if you email me, I would be happy to send it to you. It's all the information that I can tell you. I know that there's lots of people that have done hyperthermia. It works for some people. When I say the best thing to do before you do anything drastic that could harm your sex life and your incontinence and everything else, maybe try some of these things, supplements that go after, like I did, but resolve the reason. And if you look up New German medicine, it tells you like why people get certain, we didn't talk about this on the show, but why people get cancers that they get. Why does one person get breast cancer? Why does some other buddy get melanoma? Why does somebody else get, whatever? So they'll tell you, it's great. And I can share all that kind of information with you, but usually there's a very good reason for it. And so if you can resolve the reason why you have the cancer, then it can go away. So a lot of the things are similar. These are all hormonal type cancers. So a lot of the things, but I can definitely share with you everything I know
love
of
that.
how to get rid of prostate cancer.
I would love that. Okay, so we have some other questions. So let me check the questions here. Audrey says, I miss where to get the info she was talking about on vitamins. I can't seem to go back to hear it again. Okay, so go ahead, Elyn.
There is a page on, if you go to elynjacobs.com, there at the top of the page, right under the J in my name, Jacobs, is a thing that says supplements. And that's the list that's going to tell you what each of the supplements does for you. It doesn't break it down necessarily to individual cancers, but in the text, you'll get certain information. And then I do offer actual handouts, like I was just talking about, for prostate, breast, and colon cancer, which is some of the more popular cancers that I tend to work with.
And so are you still taking clients, Elyn?
Yes, I am.
And what is the protocol to reach out to you if people wanted to consult with you? How can they do that?
Right. So we take requests by email to elyn@elynjacobs.com, just like my website name. And you can find that. You can easily get to on the Contact Us tab on my website. And you send us an email. We will send you a new client form. You fill it out, send it back, and then we schedule you.
Very good. And how far out are you booked?
It depends on how flexible you are with your timing. Some people need to have weekends. Some people need to have, I don't do any evenings. I do Monday through Friday. I do 7 days a week, but I do not do evenings. I have kids, well, not much longer. They're all soon be off to college, but I do have a life, and I don't believe anyone should be on a computer at night before bed. So I limit it to daytime hours only. So if you're flexible, it's usually very easy to get in within 2 to 3 weeks. If you have only one limited time amount, like per hour a week that's going to work for you, then it might take longer. But I generally do get people in there, and people move around very quickly. I get calls and say, listen, my doctor needs to see me tomorrow. They changed my appointment. So then they cancel, and we keep a wait list, and we move people right in there as we can.
You are very good. You're good. Okay. So I have a question. You were talking about estrogen, and what is your perspective on bioidentical hormones if you have cancer or if you don't have cancer, period?
So I'm not a big believer that that's the first thing a person should do is take bioidenticals. And the problem with prescription bios, even though it's done by a compacted pharmacist that you might really love and trust, through no fault of their own, sometimes the ingredients, you get more of one than you bargained for or less of one than you bargained for. I think if you have your estrogen, if you're truly estrogen dominant, which most people are, raising your progesterone is very important. A progesterone cream could be in order. But again, you can raise your progesterone through reducing your stress and various supplements, magnesium, zinc, and vitamin E, and we can raise that progesterone level up. Estrogen cannot fuel breast cancer or any of the other hormonal cancers if you have enough progesterone to offset it.
Wow.
More important than your estrogen is getting rid of the xenoestrogens. So the chemical estrogen in your life, those are the ones that are fueling your cancer, not your own estrogen. That is so rare unless you have no progesterone, but we can fix that.
So when you say the other estrogens, can you share with our listeners and viewers what you mean by the other estrogens? Because there's so many things that we do to ourselves, and we don't realize that when we're eating plastic, when we're eating out of plastic, and we're doing certain things that we're really hurting our body.
Right. So it's your personal care products, your cleaning products, your paper products, which includes tissues, toilet paper, paper towels, copy paper. All of these things are loaded with BPA. When I was a kid, too long ago, when I was a kid, cash register would always jam. Paper never went through. Copy machine always jammed. But then they lined everything with BPA. Goes right through. And that is a very, very powerful, worse than plastic water bottles. It is so powerful that you should never touch a cash register receipt, ever. You should, if you do, wear gloves or have them drop it in the bag if you need the receipt. Believe me, you're not going to return the eggs, and Whole Foods will take them back anyway. Although I don't think they put BPA in their receipts anymore. Well, they might now that Amazon bought them, so I'm not sure. But that's been a while now. So, but regardless, if you're not going to return something, if you don't have to have a receipt, and again, if you have rotten broccoli and you get home and you say, "Well, but this rotten," they're going to take it back. So, do you really need to spend the time to go return it? But if you do, you're going back anyway. You don't need a receipt. Have them email you a receipt if you want an email receipt. Don't touch
That's
it.
interesting. That's a good point to, because now you can choose an email or a paper receipt. And I always choose paper because I have a business. And so I have it so that the accounting can be done at the end of the month, but email avoids a lot of things and you forever have the receipt. That's brilliant.
You don't need paper towels so much. Kitchen towel, right? Use a kitchen towel, right? Use a cloth napkins. Make your own toilet paper. Cut up old towels that you're going to throw in the garbage. Don't throw things away. Use it as toilet paper. When we were kids, we had diaper pails. I'm not expecting you to get a diaper pail, but if you're just going to pee, you can use your own homemade toilet paper. You can throw it in the Sandy cycle. You can do whatever you want, but whatever you do, cut back on those chemicals.
Wow.
Breast cancer rates have soared because in the 50s, women got Tilex, the housewife, right? You could clean your bathroom now in no time. Just spray this stuff on, wipe it off, and you can go eat bonbons the rest of the day. Yep, that was true. It made life really easy. But then breast cancer rates started to soar because we were all sucking in all these chemicals on a day, every single day, all day long. And, air conditioning. So now the windows are closed. You're sucking up the Tilex even more. So it's a product of our environment. It's not our estrogen, not our own estrogen. It is a product of our environment. What we, through no fault of our own, it is a product of our environment.
Elyn, did you just say, it took me a while, but I think I registered. Did you say toilet paper has estrogen? It has the BPA?
But yeah, because why do you think it comes off the roll so easily?
Oh my. So, goodness. So
same thing. Yeah, they don't stick anymore, right? You can easily do that.
So do you have toilet paper that you know that works? Because I have a bidet. We have a bidet, and so we have towels and we have different things that we use if we need it. But I didn't realize that toilet paper had that.
Seventh generation, doesn't matter. That's actually a junk company. Sorry, seventh generation, but they admit that theirs also has BPA. So it sounds like a really healthy, company.
Yeah.
But
read the labels to everything.
it's maybe they're better than others. I'm not gonna get into a discussion about that. But the point is, they all have BPA. So just and you can't avoid everything, but you can minimize. So like I said, you can give up paper towels. Maybe that's easier than giving up toilet paper, right? To pick your poisons. Just do the changes, like Dr. Gaynor used to say. It's not what you're doing; it's how often you're doing it and how much. So if you go to someplace and you get a massage and you forgot to bring your own special lotion and they're going to give you that massage and you say, well, I can either bail out and go home, but the benefits of getting the massage are so good that maybe I'll keep my appointment. Yes, they're putting poison on me. I'm going to go home, take a shower, and I'm never going to forget my lotion again. Lesson learned, right? But maybe there's a benefit. So if you minimize the amount of talk and work on daily detoxification, and that doesn't mean like not eating for 3 weeks. There's just sweating, supplements that help you. Yes. Eating lots of cruciferous vegetables that are onions that naturally detoxify the body. Daily detoxification, gentle, not a big deal. Don't starve yourself.
Great information. I just thought our next class that we're going to do together is like things around the house that increase toxicity. Like how can we change some of the things around our house to decrease toxicity in the body? I think that would be a great topic next time you come to the classroom. I know that we've reached our 15 minutes and I want to honor your time because I know your children are probably home or about to come home, but I'm just so grateful to you, Elyn, for everything. And I want to encourage all of you, because she had just talked about lotion. If you go to my affiliate page, my Shop Now bag, Keep Me Safe Organics, nothing is synthetic in Keep Me Safe Organics. Nothing. All my makeup, anything that touches my skin, because 26 seconds is all it needs for it to be absorbed into your body. 26 seconds. And I've done lots of classes about with the owners of Keep Me Safe Organics. Is the only thing I use on my skin, on my body, my makeup, my lipstick, everything, nothing synthetic. So I want to encourage you that if you're a woman or even a man that wants some lotion or whatever, consider switching to Keep Me Safe Organics, because it is absolutely life-changing. I used to have a lot of melasma on my face, and then little by little, I've done some things like change the amalgams in my mouth, but all of those spots have gone away just because I'm not filling up the bucket with more toxicity. I've pulled out the plug in the tub and I'm filling it up with things that are healthy, because that's what we do. I mean, did you find yourself, it was difficult at first to make these changes, but once you made the changes, you're like, wow, why didn't I do this sooner?
Years ago, the natural products were really disgusting. They smelled terrible. They were greasy. You looked awful. Right. But now there are so many, but that's an amazing company that you're talking about. Yeah. There are so many ways that we can avoid it. There's no excuse anymore. And it's not even any more expensive. That's the thing. They're not expensive. The cleaning products aren't any more expensive, sometimes cheaper.
Yeah.
A lot of things. It's just clean people for laundry detergent. I mean, dryer sheets. Absolutely, positively do not touch conventional dryer sheets. I mean, there's no reason to have that on your clothes, and you're sleeping on chemicals. You're wearing chemicals all day long.
Yeah, we have those dryer balls. They're sheep.
Excellent. Yeah,
the sheep. Yeah, I feel bad for the sheep, but I'm sure they didn't die for it. But it's just it keeps the static from happening. They're little
balls,
they're balls, and we have about three or four in our dryer, and they've been there for a long time because they do like 1,000 loads or something like that. It's ridiculously inexpensive if you think about all these dryer sheets. And I learned that you can get love bugs, because in Florida we have lots of love bugs. And I was told that if you take one of those dryer sheets and you wet the headlights in your car, the front where all the love bugs are, those dryer sheets kill everything from the front. I mean, it's just incredible how it just takes everything out and cleans your car. And I'm thinking, wow, if it does that, and that's how much chemicals it has in the dryer. But I wear gloves or do everything before I put anything like that in my car. But it's just amazing, the stuff that we're putting on our body, we don't even know.
It's funny that you say that, though, because when I used to play a lot of golf and we went to South Carolina, Myrtle Beach and all those areas, I mean, the bugs are horrible, but taking a dryer sheet, a chemical dryer sheet, and rubbing it on your skin, not a single bug would touch you. What does that say for you? And this is well before we knew anything, right? This is 40 years ago. And we would rub this on, and these bugs would not come near us.
Bugs are smart. You see, they're smart. They know that if they bit you, they would die. And here we are doing these things we don't even know. We just don't even know. Amazing, amazing. Well, Elyn, thank you so much. Let's see what Dr. Daryl Wolf is also a good topic. Yeah, we've had Dr. Wolf in the classroom. Wolf I think we've had him in the classroom several times, as a matter of fact. I'll have to see if I can find him. But anyway, Elyn, thank you so much for all the information that you've provided today. I'm looking forward. We're going to book you now for the next time because you're so busy. And I'm glad that you keep your busyness in check, that you are very much, you practice what you preach. And I'm very grateful for this information today. I hope all of you that are watching go to elynjacob.com, check out her supplements, check out her, all the things that she has on there, her articles, and so that you can, if you don't have cancer, which, that's great, but do it yourself too, because you can prevent it too. If you want to reverse it, just take these wonderful tips and use them on yourself. So thank you, Elyn, for everything that you do.
Have a great day,
Okay.
everybody.